Hey everyone, welcome to another packed weekender. We've got no less than 3 guests in this week. We've got Gareth and Dom in from Paranoid Miniatures to talk to us about the cool new Mythos game. Warren was really impressed with that. You'll want to watch the show and find out about that.
Yep, we also have John Paul Brizzigotti again with Warren, but also Ben, while he was across, sat down for an interview about, what was it, Ben?
We were talking about Star Trek Ascendancy, and it's really, really awesome.
Yeah. All right, very cool.
Cool stuff. We've got a prize. Justin, tell us about the prize.
Well, the prize we're giving away this week is actually one of 5 Sea Queen miniatures. So we'll have 5 winners who could win this lovely little miniature, who I will bring up on screen right now. So this is a miniature that Dawn fell in love with last year at Salute. Yep. We have 5 of them to give away. And for your chance to win, get your comments over here on beastofwar.com on this post.
Absolutely. We're going to choose 5 winners at random. And speaking of winners, we've got 7 winners to announce on this show, so we better get stuck in. Let's get on with the show.
It's time for 28mm World War II action. Will you recreate history or reshape it your way? On the Bolt Action Hub at beastofwar.com. Venture into the dangerous dungeons of myth as a mighty hero and stand against the darkness. Visit the Myth Hub on beastofwar.com and begin your story.
Okay, so 7 winners. 7 winners to announce this week.
Yeah.
Justin, who have we got? What have they won?
All right, the first one is from Infinity Week that we did recently for the N3 Human Sphere book. We were giving away 3 copies of Operation Ice Storm and 2 epic starter bundles for you and a mate. So, our first winner from Monday, you're getting an Operation Ice Storm box set, is Cyberwolf 1971 from beastofwar.com. Congratulations, mate.
Oh yeah.
Get your prize claim in as soon as you can and get that prize winging its way out to you. Next up, on Tuesday, our winner was from YouTube. It is Perry Frazier. Congratulations, you've won yourself a copy of Operation Ice Storm. On the Wednesday, another copy of Operation Ice Storm. Our winner is Simon James Swan from Facebook. Now, the big prizes. The 2 epic starter sets, which included a US Ariadne starter force, a Onyx Contact starter force, and 2 N3 core rulebooks. Our Thursday's winner who has won that is Shade Knight from Beasts of War. Congratulations, buddy. And now our final winner from Friday, who was also winning one of those epic 2-player starter bundles, it's Alex Azaroff from Facebook.
Oh my goodness, there's an absolute jammy dance going on all around the world. If I could bundle you all into one room, that would be just amazing.
Mega jammy dance, yeah.
Right, that's not the only prizes then.
No, we have 2 others.
Yeah.
So our next prize was for our Protos Goodies bundle from last week. Our winner is Only One Pin Man from beastofwar.com. Congratulations. So Excellent. You're getting some very cool Space Crusade minis, some amazing looking Wars and Resurrection minis. Get your prize claim in.
We also have stuff to give away from Adepticon. Dawn and Janet did a class job at Adepticon, and they've got a VIG swag bag to give away. Justin, who the heck won it?
First up, you do know what VIG means, Lloyd.
Very important gamer.
Bingo. Our winner is Time Traveler from beastofwar.com.
Oh yes.
So
the jammy dancing continues.
Actually, if you're curious as to sort of what's going to be in that bag, Dawn actually did a sit-down video where she was unbagging everything that was in there.
Yeah.
There was a ridiculous amount of stuff.
There was.
We actually had a table collapse this year because there was too much stuff loaded onto it to load into the bags.
No way. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Ben.
Yes.
While we're announcing stuff, there's a blog that's been kicking up, a launch blog on the site. Tell us about that.
Yes, so the guys at Battlefront are going to be doing a huge launch blog for the Pacific Theatre. This is their Flames of War launch blog. It's going to be running, well, it's been running for a couple of days now, and it'll be running into the middle of next week. And there's some really cool stuff in there. They're going to be looking at the army lists, painted armies that they've done in the studio, looking at making terrain for the Pacific Theatre, and all of the releases that come with it as well. Now, and there's a competition prize there.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Awesome. Yeah. What is the prize, Ben, and how do you win that?
So the competition prize, anyone who comments on the launch blog over the week can be in the chance of winning one of 7 sets of both the Banzai and the Gung Ho book, signed by the Battlefront studio team. So if you ever wanted to get your hands on the book, but you wanted it to be something special, there you go, something to aim for.
Awesome. Right, now, you just comment on the live blog and we'll just choose at random.
Yep, comment on the blog, and then we'll pick at random, yeah.
We're going to pick 7 winners. 7 winners. I thought we were giving a lot of prizes away this week. Yeah. Right. Speaking of prizes and all this sort of stuff and what's happening, There is no Weekender next week
No.
because we're all shipping off to Salute. Everybody you see here and more, we're all shipping off to the big party down in London.
The big smoke.
The big smoke. We're going to be covering Salute, so that's the 16th and 17th of April.
Yep.
So no Weekenders that weekend. We'll be live blogging at Salute. We're going to have an awesome team. We're going to have Don and Gianna, Ben, Lance, myself, you,
Me, and Warren.
So we're going to be live blogging and then filming other stuff that we'll be putting out on YouTube and stuff when we get back. At least that's the plan at the minute.
Well, actually, quick question for everybody. Are there any companies or games we should be looking out for this year at Salute? I want the community feedback on this to actually see what is there and what might be cool to check out. What do you think, Lloyd? Would it be a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Drop them in the comments below, because if you do it this week, we'll have time to go sift through them, and then we can drop. Because at the start of Salute, we get the.
Oh yeah, we get the map, and it's just like, okay, there's a ton of cool stuff.
Yeah, and we sit there for like an hour with a highlighter going, gotta see this, 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 and then the doors open and it's just, oh, go.
Yeah, and then Warren gets a hold of the map and grabs his 3-inch paintbrush and goes, we have to see this, and this, and this, and marks everything.
Yeah. Ben, are you looking forward to seeing anything in particular?
Yeah, I'm really interested in what's coming up. There's some interesting stuff from the historical side of thing that I'm aiming for particularly. So yeah, and loads of demo games. So many demo games I want to try and see if I can squeeze in a little bit of time with. So
awesome. Right, and then when we're there's going to be some meetups as well, which I'm not going to tell you about now because we're going to get Warren into the show to tell you about the Beast of War meetups at Salute this year. So, stick around, watch the interviews, and in between it, we'll get him in to explain what we're doing, exciting stuff. Ben.
Yes.
The Salute miniature this year then. The Salute has a steampunk theme to it this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, so Salute this year has the steampunk theme. And with that comes a model. So the miniature was revealed this week, and it is a really awesome steampunk lady with a rifle on her shoulder, ready to get rocking and start killing some guys. I
absolutely love the look of that rifle. It is so cool. So cool. Yeah. They've been teasing this for months, haven't they?
They have been.
Absolutely, really cool stuff. And what's that? That's inside your goodie bags as you walk through the door?
Yes, yeah. So you pick up one of the gift bags, and this will be inside there. So you'll all get your hands on one of these. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Speaking of minis at Salute, Now Don was working with Protos making up a miniature called the Jezebel, right? And we've seen posts and stuff about it on the site, and it turned out to be class looking. Yeah. But she's gonna be given, well, not given. She's going to be
not giving away because that no. Selling. She will be selling these at Salute. You can also get a hold of her on the site and actually PM her if you're not going to make it to Salute to actually order one up from her. Yeah,
there was such a demand for this that the Protos guys and Don have arranged to have a selection of them at Salute so you can pick them up at Salute. To find out how to do that, though, you got the minute Don's talking about come on up and find me at Salute.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that's going to be difficult for people to do in a room full of 5,000 to 7,000 people.
Well, what I have images of is people going, there she is, get her! And actually dive bombing her while she's on camera.
Yeah.
Not the best plan, guys, not the best plan.
Forget making videos, Don, because someone will be behind you going, give me miniatures, tell me this, I want it. Ben, there's a post up about it where people can go in and comment and stuff.
Yes, yeah, there is, yeah. You can go and comment over there and get in touch with Dawn, find out how we're all going to get it sorted out. We'll update the post during next week, make sure we shore up all the details of exactly how you can get a hold of it. But there is going to be a limited quantity of them there, so make sure you get stuck in and try and find it.
And the packaging for it's cool. I didn't expect them to do packaging for it.
Yeah, they've done some really nice packaging, which
and
looks
the pro paint job on it.
Yeah,
which is looking really cool.
Really
I will
cool.
say one thing right now, right this second. Don, if you're watching this, dibs, I want one.
He wants one. You have the shiny syndrome kicking in before you even get there.
Whoa, hang on. Salute is a glorious celebration of shiny syndrome. Let's be honest here. Right. Everybody goes in and goes, ah!
We'll probably end up talking about Salute again before the show's out, no doubt.
Of course.
Ben, awesome stuff. Like I said, now there's a post up there. If you want to know more about it, jump in there. As I think we'll firm up the details, because I would like a more of a central point where people can come if they want this many, rather than have to run around the convention centre pestering, tugging on Don's
sleeve
shirt, going,
Don, I know you're filming right now, but please.
I don't want that. So keep an eye on the website. We'll firm up the details on that next week. Right, I'm going to move us straight on into the news here.
Yeah.
I was planning on taking a little break, but do you know what? Let's push on in.
Let's power up.
Ben, what's first up in the news?
Cool. So the first thing is some news from Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Last weekend, there was a really cool event there called the Throne of Skulls, which is one of their big sort of competitive events where people bring their armies along. But this one was for Lord of the Rings, and it sold out just insanely. So much sold out in such a way that they had to add more tickets to the event.
Yep.
And because of all of this, they've decided to talk with some of the guys that were there, with the design team and stuff.
There's not much to see in the post because it's all inside a video. So if you want to know more about this, watch this video. But Ben, you can tell us about what's come out of the event.
Yeah, so the design team sat down with these people and they basically told them about what was going to come up. And that involves the reprinting of the books. They're going to be redesigning the rule book and giving it a new name under the Middle-earth strategy game sort of title, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're going to be tweaking a few things, and they're also going to be producing some new miniatures under the title of Forge World. This also means some of the older miniatures are going to be redone as well, which is pretty cool. So basically, Games Workshop are fully committed to doing some really good stuff in the Middle-earth realm, as it were.
So what I'm trying to wrap my head around with it, Ben, so the books get reprinted.
Yes. Yeah.
What about the plastic box sets and stuff then? Is Games Workshop going to be releasing that, or is it all moving over to Forge World to be resin?
As far as I'm concerned with the sort of information that we've got so far, all the plastic stuff will continue, but anything new will come through Forge World, and that seems to be the way that things are going, with all the specialist games, as it were. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, we all know the quality of the sculptors that the guys have in at Forge World, so I'm expecting to see some absolutely glorious-looking minis coming out of this.
Yeah,
well, it's quite
that's a good point, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, that's crap, no plastic miniatures. But then when you say... You point out.
Look at the quality they do for their sculpts. Look at some of the stuff they brought out recently. It's beautiful.
I immediately start to feel, oh yeah, Justin's sitting on the head. I'm getting more excited about this idea now.
See, this is the thing. I'm always Mr. Positive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. The Perry twins had said that there were a lot of stuff that never saw the light of day through Games Workshop towards the end of the Hobbit films. So maybe there's going to be some more stuff from them that was all sort of done and it was all in the works, and that will come up through Forge World. So some of the missing characters and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, that could be cool.
Still a mass battle game.
Still a mass battle. Well, mass battle game
and a skirmish game, isn't it?
Yes.
They're not doing any rules changes. They're just reprinting rules and stuff.
Yes, that's the key. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Next up, we've got Avatar of the set of what? Avatar of Set.
This.
As in the Egyptian god.
Oh.
The Avatar of Set.
Avatar of Set from Twisted.
There you go.
Yes.
What's this?
So yeah, this is one of the creatures from the Egyptian faction within Twisted, which is a fantastic steampunk game. Dawn and John are absolutely in love with this. This was sculpted by Valentin Zach, based on artwork by Nicholas Amoroso, and it's just insane looking. I love all the intricate details here, the armor, the organic bits of it as well. Just crazy good, crazy good.
I love the design of the Kopesh on this.
Yes, yes. You've even got the name right as well. Fantastic.
Look at my face. I'm like, what?
It's the sword.
Kapesh?
It's the name of the sword.
It's the name of the sword they use. I've been watching a TV series recently called Forged in Fire.
Oh, this explains it.
They actually forged some ancient weaponry.
Yeah.
You know, so first round, 4 smiths, design your own blade, go. Last round, okay, here's a historical weapon. Here's the mighty Warhammer of medieval times. Go make us one and we're going to test it.
Ben, this sounds like something you should be watching. Have you been checking this show out?
It's kick-ass.
I have not been watching it, but Justin has continually harangued me about it, so I will.
Oh, it's glorious!
I don't get this. Me and you are the beardy ones in here, Ben, and Justin's out bearding us right now.
How am I bearding you? I shaved a couple days ago.
Can we look at the mini again? Back to the first picture. I just want to suck up some more details from it. So this is 44 millimeters from toe to helmet.
Yes, this is insanely big miniature, yeah.
But it is designed for tabletop gaming. It is part of the range.
Yes. It's designed for the range and sort of to supplement the human-sized characters within that faction, yeah.
Well,
it's a weird collection of stuff at the minute. All these little bits and stuff screwed together. It'll be interesting to see how this paints up and ties the whole mini together. Like, go to the back of it, Justin.
Well, I mean, I love the biomechanical aspects we're seeing of this, where metal is merging with flesh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the whole steampunk aspect of this comes over. I can imagine that within the Egyptian faction, they might have brought back these mythical creatures and then sort of bolted a little bit of the steampunk to them to get them working again, almost kind of thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very, very cool.
Very cool. It's like that Egyptian goddess we were looking at last week.
Yes.
More cool stuff.
Yes, the Mummy Queen.
Right. Now, something that was really exciting me here, Ben, is the Chicago Way.
Yes.
I just looked at this post and went, I really dig this. I really like it. So tell us about it, Ben.
Yeah, so if you like the Untouchables and stuff like that, the Prohibition era where they got gangsters versus the cops and corrupt policemen in between them all, this is exactly what this is all about. The Chicago Way is by Great Escape Games, and it brings together all these cool sort of warbands, gangs, if you were, to fight over a really interesting campaign map where you fight for influence and money and all that kind of thing, trying to take over Chicago, basically. And I think this looks really cool. Some really nice gangs already set up for this. And the rules sound pretty cool too. So yeah,
It does look really cool.
I am loving it.
And do you know what's really good about this, Justin, is we're going to get the guys from Mythos in to talk about their game.
Aye.
I'm looking at this stuff and immediately I'm thinking, this stuff could work with that.
Yeah, we could Cthulhu this up. We could definitely Cthulhu this up. Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm just looking at it and I have Sean Connery stuck in my head. They send one of ours to the hospital. We send one of theirs to the morgue.
That's exactly it.
Horrible accent. Apologies all round. I screwed that up. I done goofed.
Have you ever seen High Spirits?
High Spirits, no.
No?
No.
Liam Neeson. It's like a hotel in Ireland, and they make it pretend to be all haunted, and it turns out to be really haunted.
Right.
That's full of terrible accents.
Aye.
I'm just having a brain bubble moment there.
Aye, no, but it's a funny thing. You get Irish actors who go to Hollywood, get an American accent, and they can no longer do an Irish accent. Also, whenever I hear Americans try to do an Irish accent, a Northern Irish accent especially, sometimes it ends up Scottish.
There's this weird program on Netflix. Oh, I can't remember what it's called, but it's this PI program, right?
PI, right.
And I was watching it going, this is weird. It's like Irish sounding people, but they've got American cars and stuff. It turns out it's a province of Canada that was settled by Irish people and French people, and they've got the weirdest mix of accent.
You sort of have the same thing in Hell's Kitchen in New York, because there's a lot of Irish descendants from there, who still count themselves as Irish.
Anyway,
sorry, we digress.
We're getting distracted because we're talking about Mythos there.
Yeah,
I think it's time we jump into that interview with Mythos and find out from Gareth and Dom all about it. Watch this; it's cool stuff.
Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Volsung Hub on beastsofwar.com. Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves and orcs in this game of masked fantasy combat on beastsofwar.com.
Hi guys, so I'm joined by Dom and Gaz from Paranoid Miniatures. We're going to talk Mythos. Now, some of you might remember us covering Mythos at Salute last year. It's almost a full year ago. We found these guys at Salute. Dawn completely fell in love with the whole system that they're making. We've got them in the studio. Time to give us some Lovecraftian awesomeness. Okay, so Mythos, set in the 1920s. This is proper Lovecraftian Cthulhu gorgeousness here. Can you give us a bit of background to the world that this game is set in?
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to, again, pay homage to H.P. Lovecraft, what he brought to the table, and with that we've kept with the 1920s. Based in America, horror-based game, skirmish, we're going to have monsters, humans, the fight for survival and battle for the fate of the world. Or at least we hope so, anyway.
Yeah. So it's set in Providence?
That's correct.
Now,
yes.
There'll be people out there that don't know the whole Cthulhu kind of thing. Can you give us some insight into the why Providence and the what makes that quite special in its connection to the game?
Definitely. Providence was the hometown of H.P. Lovecraft himself.
Yeah.
And he worked within the industry and he wrote there. He wrote for the newspaper, there were articles. It's basically where he formed his craft and built the horror legend that is H.P. Lovecraft. Through that, we had to pay homage. Luckily for us, we wanted to set it on the coast. Providence is on the coast. It is in America. It's ideal. So there was never really a question of where it was going to be set, at least as a start point.
Now, in terms of, before we're going to have a close look at the factions, there are 5 factions at the moment, and then there's some other concept characters we're going to have a look through. But before that, can you give me a kind of a shakedown on what is happening in the world? What has caused this evil to kind of present itself?
Yeah, definitely. Really, the First World War has just finished. We've moved just past that, and the deaths in the First World War caused the souls of those humans to be fled into the atmosphere, into the world. And Mythos within our game is basically a net that holds Cthulhu on the planet Earth that was formed by the other gods. And when humans and other creatures use this mythos, it plucks at that thread. And souls are held within it, but they can power it. So within that, those souls that are released strengthen the net. And the creatures below that ocean, all the nightmares and the dreams that the body of Cthulhu has had have taken form over the years and become its sons and daughters. And they're very sensitive to how that net and how it holds Cthulhu in. So when all the deaths happened in this First World War and the surrounding battles, the net was strengthened, and that's awoken them, and their senses have been piqued to the point where they've realized there's a lot of human souls out there for them to harvest. So in the past, they came out in singles, in ones and twos, for fear of wiping humanity out, these powerful beings with their creatures in tow. But now it's changed. There are over 2 billion souls on the planet. And one daughter has been released as the initial wave to go and find out, you know, is this the time? Is this the time that they can harvest those souls, pull that net out and free what was once a dead god, now awakening and releasing back into the universe?
So humanity is on the other side of this, has started to learn how to kind of harness mythos. And mythos has almost become a bit of like a power that they can use.
There's a number of human factions. Cultists have always done it for generations. The shamans. Some of the elements have gone. The shamanic elements within the tribal systems have changed, but now there's other creatures out there that, having been left alone and allowed to breed, they've grown in numbers. So it's not just the humans that are tapping into this mythos now. There are other things. And all of them unknowingly are weakening that net every time they pull a thread to tap the mythos.
So by pulling on the mythos threads, the net itself is weakening.
Correct.
So the
That's
return of Cthulhu. Right, I want to talk about the factions, all the different kind of protagonists that are taking place in this, and then we'll move on to gameplay. I've played it. Man, I've got a story to tell you. Right, so if we can kick off with the first of the factions. Now, this is the Priory, okay? So if you bring up some images there, we can start having a look through them. So this guy, who's this guy?
This guy's Professor Zachary Lazarus, and he fits in with the archetypal scholars, librarians, and what we know of a lot of the Cthulhu-based games. Ours is inspired by it, but we couldn't bypass this beautiful opportunity to really flesh out these characters. Within the game, he's actually an Englishman, a scholar from the Cambridge University, and he was on an expedition in Slovakia where he lost the rest of his team to cultists and was chased and hunted through the woods. And after finished with that, he couldn't help but come back and take that opportunity to learn about these cults, to hunt down these people that cause this problem. Over the time he did that, the Priory became aware of his interests. They sort of aligned with him, inducted him in, and now he leads one of the last Indicator teams, which are these specialist crews of, you know, a number of people and creatures that fight to try and keep that hidden war against these monsters and the things that go bump in the night from wiping out humanity.
So let's have a look at the rest of his crew members. So here we have, this is Zeus.
Yes, Zeus is his trusty cat, basically. One thing we want to keep open within the game is the fact that our story is just one story. Anybody can tell the story of these individuals and how they got together. But for us, this was the cat in Egypt. He was on an archaeological dig. He was at the Valley of Kings, where all the tombs are for the pharaohs, and they needed a rat catcher. And this little bad boy was running around, keeping the food and such safe from all the little rodents and such. And when they were leaving, they just couldn't leave it behind. So Zeus became a part of the family for the professor, and when he left, he took Zeus with him. But the interesting part is he actually has a collar within the game itself that has the soul of a Egyptian priest in, and he didn't know that when he was casting Mythos to build a bond with the cat once he got back, because it was still not a happy chappy, he released that soul, and it was within the cat on a daily basis.
Awesome. And who is this lady here?
This lovely lady with freckles and all is Abigail Hansley.
Yeah.
And she was the professor's best friend's daughter who unfortunately passed away in one of the mental asylums that are within Providence. Herself, she fell into a deep depression, and the professor came over and took her under his guardianship. But the backstory is her father didn't die by his own hand. It was a form of mythos creature called a dream whisperer that actually talked him into taking his own life. And upon visiting the ward itself, the professor realized this, and he took Abigail to cleanse the creature, which opened her eyes to this world. And knowing all that she knows now, he couldn't leave her out there, so he brought her into the fold and inducted her into the priory, and she became his right hand, so to speak.
So already there's a beautiful narrative storyline going through all of this, and I think that's you're planning on making that such a feature of this game. It is all about the storytelling as well. Even in the introductory missions, it's all about how these guys meet up.
Yeah, definitely. Again, we'd like to keep it open, but we're going to give some structure and a framework of what we want you guys to initially play to get a feel, and then you go forward and you make your own story, and that would be the professor's being chased through the woods. You know, there's creatures after him, and it's somebody like Abigail that he bumps into at the far side, and they form a friendship. If you know, that's the route you can take. We took it in that it was a friend of his, and it's his daughter, but there's so many options. And within the narrative campaign itself, you will meet each person one at a time. So you'll gradually build your faction within that narrative campaign. You'll start with your one model, you'll meet the second one within that scenario. The second scenario will feature the two models moving forward into another adventure. And we want to try and keep that alive.
Awesome. So that's Abigail. Next up we have Bertie. So
Bertie is a World War I flying ace. And everything that comes with it. Within his rules, we've even got that he passes one of his rolls if he's within 6 of Abigail, because he would never look bad in front of a lady.
Oh, he would never look bad in front of a lady.
so we have that stiff upper lip, the old-time World War I flying ace.
What's the weapon?
The weapon is, his backstory basically is based on a World War I pilot who was lost over France, unfortunately, but his body was never recovered. And he was lost in a fight when he flipped over his B-5E biplane, and he flooded the engine. He managed to land, but what caused it was a creature of mythos within one of the clouds that attacked and ripped apart part of his wing. But the bullets didn't work on it, so since then he's never trusted guns, and he's made a homemade flamethrower instead. So what he can't cleanse with steel or lead, he will now cleanse with fire.
So kill it with fire is his motto then.
It's worked up to yet for him, and until that doesn't work, he's not going to change, apparently.
Now, in the factions, they also tend to have these characters with their own individual backstories. They also have very unique rules and play styles, but there's also a big dude that appears in the factions. So can we have a look at theirs?
Absolutely.
So this is Maharal.
Maharal, yes. He's a golem of traditional form initially. What everybody thinks to do with the Jewish religion and the rabbis, what they could summon. The carved symbols on his chest are based upon the exact symbology that would have been on in accordance with legends. And ours is slightly different. During a dig, the professor saved a rabbi who gave him the ability to raise a golem of clay. But a golem of clay is very formless without many of the details. But in our case, the clay was brought from the Dolorosa, the path of Christ. And when he was initially raised, he was raised in the Valley of Kings by the tombs. And what was mixed in was the ashes of a bodyguard of an Egyptian pharaoh. So within that, he took form as he would understand it, which gave him musculature. And upon entering the temple to protect the priory, he then took up his original khopesh, which is the Egyptian sword, and put on his original war gear. And now, when he's not in use, he forms a solid statue, which is again a flippability within our game. So he can become a statue and then be repurposed with a word of power from one of the other characters.
So it really is a case of, we'll get into a bit of gameplay, but the character kind of uses the magic word or whatever to give the golem its purpose. the golem then rises and goes and does its thing, and whenever it's completed its purpose, it starts to convert back to stone again, and then it can be repurposed again. Lovely. Okay, right. The next faction I want to take a look at are the hidden ones. Now, this is really getting into the Cthulhu side of it now. So
yeah, we're going to see some tentacles in amongst this.
So here we have the Dockland Queen and Molly. She's clearly Molly Malloy. Lovely lass. Right. So we'll start with the Dockland Queen there. First thing that strikes me is, what is that on the back of her head?
Well, to be honest, we're not all sure. No. It's been growing. She's had some cream and it didn't turn out very well.
Yeah.
No, within this faction, this is the first wave of what was coming from the ocean. Mm-hmm. And the first wave that was sent by the Sea Queen, the demigod that has been awakened to go and find out what's going on in the world, needed to be there quickly to form the foothold on the land.
Yeah.
So what went was normal creatures that could adapt to live within that environment. Mm-hmm. These creatures, such as the mollusk type creature and with the legs sticking out on the back of the queen's head, is one such creature, and it feeds off the oxygen within the blood of its hosts, which allows it to live out of water. But to take over her fully, it basically burrowed into the back of her head, as which some creatures do.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit of a nasty, but he's empowered her with mythos. She is a bit of a beast when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. Molly Malone, on the other hand, she was actually based on the well-known character. Our Molly Maloney here is again of British origin. She fell into the water on the docks of England instead of dying of a fever. Her body was swept through the ocean over time, ended up in an area that those mythos creatures slumber. And one of the original sirens, which is a form of squid in our world, has latched onto her back and took over her body. And in doing so, it breathed life back into her. Yeah. And she then made her way over to America, where she felt the call of the Dockland Queen, the psychic link that connects all these characters, came ashore, made her way down the coast. And although she's not necessarily overlapping with how she works within the faction, she is the one that's most human. So she's able to pass with a cloak over the creature amongst the others, get the information they need and come back. Yeah. But woe betide anybody that tries to lift that cloak.
Ooh. But it's one of the things about the concept art in this instance that I really love. It's the subtlety of it. It's the fact that at first glance you don't even really notice the tentacles, and then the true horror of it starts to come out at you, and you go, hang on a second. She's not holding that bucket. A tentacle is.
That's exactly it. We wanted to bring that subtleness that H.P. Lovecraft often didn't describe what it was. Yeah. That you let your imagination run wild. And although we've shown you some of what's there, you can make your mind up what the rest of it looks like.
So next up we have a fantastic model, or potential model that's coming. This is gotta be a giant enemy crab! This is Click Clack.
This is Click Clack, which is a noise he makes when he chops you in two with those giant claws, which is where the name came from. We couldn't help but have... I helped design this faction. I loved Sinbad as a kid. I grew up on those films with skeletons and the opportunity in any part of my life where I can make a giant crab, it's going to happen. And,
fantastic.
But we didn't want it to be just a crab.
Yeah.
And therefore we've brought out its H.P. Lovecraftness. We've
at that maw.
Added where we could without going over the top. And this, again, it fits very well in the fact that this is the faction that can come ashore. This creature, grown with magic by the Dockland Queen, started off as a small baby crab. Yeah. She injected the mythos into it over time, grew it, trained it, and it's now a key link between the two. Mm-hmm. And if you take on the Dockland Queen and do too much damage, this bad boy will turn around and come across the board after you, which is in there.
And this is something that I really love, because the Dockland Queen is his mum.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's his mum. Oh, and the moment I read that, I just went, oh, that's so cute. That's so cool as well. The Click Clack. That's my mum you're messing with. And it just goes, and it's a really strange but lovely dynamic. Because normally when you're thinking of monsters and stuff like that, it's little things like that don't often come in, but that's part of the storytelling nature of the game you guys are trying to get. And again, it kind of that Lovecraftian era type writing where it is those little details that just catch you and start to really drag you in, kicking and screaming into the whole mythos little thing.
100%.
Excuse the pun, but it's a great model. I've played this one in our playtest, and he kicks ass. he absolutely kicks ass. Right, next up we have the Fisherman King.
Yes, this is actually the nephew of the Dockland Queen. They used this man to get in initially. So when the symbiotes and all these creatures were moving through the water, coming back to the land, and they needed a method to get in, they needed a human host initially to break the ice. So the octopus which is attached to him is called Araya, and she is sort of the lead scout within this group.
Yeah.
She basically came up the ship during the night, found her way to the wheelhouse, just suddenly latched onto him, started ripping into him with her barbed tentacles. And there was a battle of wills as her mythos struck into his mind, trying to take it over.
Yeah.
And this character's treated as twin-souled, in that during the game there's the ability to switch between two roles. But that is purely because she hasn't been able to fully conquer his will. He was a hardened harpooner. He's a salty sea dog.
Yeah.
There's still a little bit of him left in there, and you ain't going to ever crush that out.
Yeah.
But the ship that it was on was the method they got in, but it came in as a ghost ship as they all debarked before it hit the docks. And nobody actually knows what happened to the crew within the town.
No, this is interesting actually, because this character here, he's actually still alive.
Yes,
right?
this is
so,
one.
So this octopus is attached to him and kind of needs to constantly keep a grip of him to hold itself on and to hold him to her.
That's it.
Whereas with the Dockland Queen, she's effectively undead now.
Yeah.
It went in through the skull, and
Very much like.
So there's no. Again, it's one of the things that is fascinating me about this. There's no single formula to these things. All these creatures have their own methods and ways and things that they have to do to.
Yeah, definitely. Each faction's tied together with story rather than a color scheme, rather than a uniform. It's the characters and how they've come together.
Yeah.
And we've put a background to that, but again, this gives people the opportunity to make up their own stories and to make these factions work in the way they want them to work.
Okay, finally we have the Angler.
Indeed. Now, this is the first of the next generation.
Yeah. So all of those other creatures are kind of like the first generation of creatures that are coming ashore. You're saying this is like the beginnings of the second wave.
That's exactly right, yeah. Based on one of the deep sea fish, you'll see some of the similarities. You may have seen them in films or documentaries. Lots of teeth, the hanging light coming over the mouth as a lure in the places where there is no light. This uses that as a lure in the water, gets you to the water's edge, and then when you tumble in with a snap of these fins, it can come out the water and attack you, but it's also got the ability to be on land. And although it's not a perfect form, it is the second wave. It's the first generation of these mythos change creatures, and that's the process the rest of them are going through with the Sea Queen under the ocean.
Yeah.
She is empowering these different types of creatures to walk on land, to be able to function on land and be ready to take and harvest human souls.
On the topic of the Sea Queen, we actually have a model of the Sea Queen here that we can show off. So let me cut to a close cam here and actually show you the Sea Queen. So here she is. Now, is she playable in the game as well, yeah?
She will have a scenario-based role in it. She is a demigod, essentially.
Okay.
There is nothing in the game that will be able to walk with her and deal with her.
Yeah.
But what you will be able to do is, as a faction, you'll be able to interrupt her. So while she's trying to open portals or move within a game zone, you will target her from range or potentially sacrifice yourself to slow her down. At which point, yes, you will have a fight of your life, but you might just do enough to stop her reaching that sacred object that will cause the end of that town.
It's a beautiful sculpt. Do you want to name the sculptor and painters on this?
Excellent. Yeah, it's great to give out credit where credit's due. And Steve Ezrin started this project, Russ Charles finished it, and Scott Hockley did a fantastic job of painting it.
It is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful miniature. Okay, so the next faction is one I'm particularly excited about. This is the Brotherhood, okay? We're going to be kicking off with two guys here. This is the guy that's mid-transformation into something horrible and gribbly is Jim Duggan, and beside him is Oliver Driver. So what can you tell us about each of those guys?
This faction is particularly one of my favourites, I have to admit, as well. This is actually a police force made up partially of Wendigos, the flesh eaters, and what they found was the best way to live in a society and go unnoticed is to eat the bad side of society that nobody will miss. So when it came to finding their version of McDonald's, it's the local Capones, it's the local, the bad element, the smugglers. And every time they go in, the crime rate seems to drop until they're noticed, and then they move on to another town and farm up again.
So they are kind of inherently good then in their alignment, or I suppose it kind of depends on your definition of good.
It depends how hungry they are and what's available, I think.
So the hunger is insatiable in these guys.
Hunger is insatiable.
If they run out of bad guys, they will eat whatever they need to eat.
Exactly right. So they generally pick places where there's a lot of crime.
Yeah.
But Jim Duggan himself, he's over 200 years old, and he's the only one that's managed to master his hunger. Mm-hmm. He can control it, and he can target things other than humans to get through the phases where they've got no criminal element.
Yeah.
But within that, he's the only one, and it's a curse that they're trying to manage. They're trying to find a way of dealing with it, of not losing its abilities, the long life, the ability to heal quickly, and the extra sensory perceptions. But they want that without the cost, or at least a manageable cost.
Yeah. So can he manage his own transformation? Can he control
He
his
can
own
do exactly that. He's the only one that can. The rest are all triggers. They smell blood, they see a combat, they just turn, and that's it. You got to put the dog back on the leash at some point. It's going to be very difficult. Mm-hmm. This guy is the only one that will go toe to toe. He brings them back to that place because he's strong enough to change and take them on.
Okay, the other guy is Oliver Driver. What can you tell us about him?
He may be based on a character that you may know from the past, and when you see his compatriot in a short while, I think you'll see the tie. But Oliver Driver is he's basically a bullied boy. He grew up with a father that was abusive, that drank too much, iron hand, and within that shaped his character. So when he came of an age to be a man of himself, he couldn't help but join the police, who at the time in the 1920s were quite brutal in how they would ply some of their batons, and it was all that type of era where
he is a man born of violence.
He is a street punisher, born of violence. Father died to violence within the criminal element. So he kind of did want to help his dad in some way, but he just got beat out of him over time. Mm-hmm. And at the end, the criminal element, yes, they did a favour, but they still took away his father. Yeah. And that's just not going to happen without him in the mold he now forms. Mm-hmm. He has that level of vengeance towards the criminal element.
Yeah. He's human, though.
This is an unusual role, yes. There's a couple of characters within this, and there will be more that are human, that have seen the creatures turn and turn back. It might have been just happenstance. It might have been where they didn't know they were there, and they saw what happened, and they've had to deal with it inside. Now, Jim Duggan being the lieutenant, he was the one that he ended up approaching about it. He'd seen something happen, and Jim Duggan managed to talk him round, talk him down, show the benefits of having them there, and then turned to show him what he was.
Oh, right.
Now, I don't know about you or me, but when given the option of Eton or join, I'm going to join.
But he strikes me as a character that would have been predisposed to joining anyway. It's he strikes me as someone that the violence is such a core part of his fabric now that
he was already on the path.
He just feels like it wouldn't have been as big a shock to him as the rest of us. He would have just went, bring it on.
He went right and wrong. You guys are still doing mostly right. that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And that's the direction he's gone.
Okay, next up we have we have Storm, Stan Page. So I think we have
have an
Oliver and
Oliver
Stan in
and
there
Stan.
now. And then at the very end, that big gruesome character is Dan Flack. But let's start with Storm. So
Storm ties in with Oliver. Oliver managed to find a pup that had been ravaged by what looked like an attack. The rest of the pups were all dead and the mother was at the side. And Storm was the only survivor, but having been grievously wounded. Now, Dan Flack was actually the one that caused this. And within the group, he is the only one that's completely lost to the thirst. He doesn't change back.
yeah,
And upon finding the pup, you know, he couldn't help but take it in. There is a soft side within Oliver. There is that want to be loved. There is that want to have the positive reinforcement that he never had growing up. And Storm was the one that gave him that. But in being attacked, he holds Mythos within his blood. So he is a bit more aggressive. He is a little stronger. He is a little faster than your average, you know, police dog. And
so it's perfect for Oliver, doesn't he?
they're peas made in a pod. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to go well together, and they work as a team. There's commands, so it's almost like having an extension of Oliver sometimes when you've got Storm moving around.
And what can you tell us about Stan?
Stan is what you'd call the old frontiersman. Was born up in the mountains. They were hunters. He's a crack shot because of it. His father taught him everything he knew. But his father was mauled in a bear attack, or so he thought.
Yeah.
Again, we fall back onto the backstory of Dan Flack getting loose and Jim Duggan not getting to him in time.
So it was the big guy again.
So within the faction, there are hidden secrets.
Yeah.
And although they all work together now, if those secrets ever came out, who knows what will happen
So
within
Stan
them.
currently doesn't know that it was.
Oliver
Dan
also
Flack.
doesn't know that Dan was
And
the
Oliver
one that
doesn't know
caused
that
the damage.
Oh, so
to Storm.
so Oliver doesn't know that. So Jim Duggan. Why is Jim Duggan protecting Dan Flack then?
They're actually half brothers. Different
Okay.
mothers, so they've got different surnames.
Yeah.
Both are over 200 years old, but when Dan did a final turn, he never turned back one time. But being super protective, he couldn't just leave his brother out into the wilderness, and he didn't have the heart to put him down. He's good at the sense that this is a curse, this was not a choice.
Yeah.
But the brandings upon him are all the different forms of magic and rituals that they try, where they burn the marks into him because they won't sit still long enough to be tattooed.
Yeah. So all of these marks all over his arms and stuff, these are attempts to try and cure him or give him some control back over the curse.
That's
yeah?
exactly it, yeah. So these will be branded into the model when we eventually produce it. They'll be raised sections and give you that element. So they'll be taking off things where it's all about control. It's all about trying to get this curse, this hunger, controllable, and hopefully turning back to his human self, which is the only reason Jim Duggan does everything he does. He misses his
What a
brother.
fabulous faction. You know, it's love these guys. Right. Next up we have the Wildborn.
Indeed we do.
Okay. So first up, we've got Dorothy on the right-hand side.
Yep.
She's,
With the entrails.
Yep.
Yeah.
We hope
Someone's
they're
entrails.
Yeah.
She's a powerful witch. Back during the Salem witch trials, her mother was accused of witchcraft, and she was a little girl, 4 years old, and she got jailed. And she's an actual historical figure.
Yeah, this is real. I was just
So she was incarcerated at age 4, interrogated, and admitted to being a witch. And she was then released and kind of disappears from the historical record. So
well, not
here
anymore.
we go. She's showing up. So, and also in jail, her mother gave birth to a child called Mercy, who is the character on the left. So there's been some kind of reincarnation gone on there, and she's resurrected her sister.
Is that
to fight
historical
with her.
fact as well about the giving birth to Mercy? Is that in the record?
Mercy, yeah, she was born in jail. I think it was in 1692 and died that same year.
Oh, they died in jail.
Yeah. So his baby was born and died in jail.
Yeah. So, how did she end up here then? Is this the undead Mercy? Yeah.
Yeah, she was kind of brought back from the dead during a ritual.
The meeting with the All-Mother. The witches post the trials, the ones that were left, that weren't caught, that weren't hung, that weren't executed.
Yeah.
They gathered as a coven upon the isle within the lake just north of the Salem village. And that was actually where she was buried by her mother.
Oh, you're going to creep me out here. This is going to be great. Okay, keep going. Yep.
Now, they actually worship a creature called the All-Mother, who's a powerful female being. And they were praying to her at the time, using blood magic to do a ritual sacrifice of all their souls.
Are we in your story, or are we still in history at this point?
At this point, this is our story.
Okay, right, that's right. Because I was getting really freaked out there now. Okay, right, so.
So they're all gathered on this island, kneeling down, saying the words of power, these dark words from literature they don't understand. Their wrists are cut, the blood is flowing into the ground.
Yeah.
And one of the All-Mother's Valkyries, so to speak, appears as a shadow form before them. And they're all shocked and awed, and those that move or stop speaking, she takes their life and the blood gushes from them. But the only one that doesn't, that's not scared of this, that feels she has nothing to lose, is Dorothy Good.
Yeah.
So she waits until she touches her, and she stares up into the deathless face of this abyssal creature. And the All-Mother's impressed. And she empowers her with mythos. And the blood that soaks the earth soaks the gravesite of Mercy. And the abyssal creature walks over, and with a single pass of hand, she scrapes off the earth, and there's a child crying underneath.
Right, okay.
And from therefore, Dorothy takes the child, raises her, but she's got no mind, she's gone insane.
Yeah.
Because she passed to the afterlife. She's been brought back by these unusual powers. So she's almost uncontrollable and feral in who she is.
Oh, this is flipping fabulous. So these are sisters that are going around causing carnage.
That's right.
Oh.
These are why people go missing in the woods.
Yeah.
Next time you head out into a shady area, just think about this and what happened.
I'm not looking forward to the drive home after hearing about that. Right, so we have Dorothy and Mercy Good, okay? They have a familiar, yeah?
That's right.
They do, yes. All the smaller creatures, the dog, the cat that you've seen, they're familiars within the factions.
And this is blood.
So this is blood. So this is, again, going back to historical fact. While Dorothy was in prison, she was interrogated, obviously aged 4 at this point.
Yeah.
She told her interrogators that her mother had given her a pet snake which fed on the blood from her finger. And she showed them the bite marks. And it's obviously they thought.
Wait. This is historical again, yes?
Yeah. This is
in
what
the
was
record,
recorded.
yeah? And did anybody see the snake?
No, but she showed them the...
Oh, that's so creepy! Right,
yeah. She showed them the bite marks on her finger.
Yeah.
And they took it to mean that that was the familiar that traditionally, obviously, the witches would have. So that is where this character comes from.
So this is blood.
Yeah.
Blood's become a big boy, eh?
Yeah, over the years, obviously, he's continued to drink Dorothy's blood, which is obviously infused with the mythos and magical power, and he's increased in size somewhat.
What are these markings done?
So these are like runes of protection that have been embedded into him and that kind of thing.
Because he's a familiar, they need to keep him. They want to keep him alive. They want. He's a conduit for their powers. Takes the risk out of the summonings and such. So these are helping when he's in that hexagram on the earth and something's being raised and it's going to take somebody's life. It contains the blood of the daughters, the Dorothy and the Mercy. So it doesn't recognize that they're not within the hexagram. But at the same time, they don't want to lose their familiar.
Yeah.
So they do runes of protection to keep him alive.
Now the other thing about him, other than the other familiars, I played with the Angler and stuff like that. This one can be controlled by both, or interact with both characters, both Dorothy and Mercy. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, because they're sisters and they're using the same kind of magical power, they can both channel it through this familiar.
Yeah.
So they share the same bloodline.
And it gets cooler from here. And creepier. Right, so who have we got next?
Next up
is Lauren.
So this is a blend of a human and a mythos creature.
Yes.
So certain times, so under a bad moon, you'll have a child born on the edge of the woods in an old estate. And
That's some bad moon.
Yeah.
Right there.
There may be some other rites involved that maybe
Yeah,
these witches do, you know?
Yeah.
That's the cause of these abnormal births.
yeah.
That's a bad moon born in a butcher's shop right there.
That's right.
So what is it? I hesitate to use the word lady. Lady. It's a goat. It's teeth and tentacles and eyes and everything that's horrible.
It's what you think of when you think mythos and Lovecraft, and all bundle up into this goat-like centaur creature.
There's definitely a feel that this is pushing the boundaries. There are going to be characters that are not subtle within this game, and there is no subtlety to Lauren. She is an absolute out-and-out monster and nightmare of what you'd expect from these horrors and these beautiful stories that have come up through time.
So I take it this is the big character for that faction then. This is the kind of their big beastie, like the golem.
Unfortunately not. No. This is just one of the hardened followers within that faction. The myth, which is what all the large creatures are called, is yet to come, which is the next slide.
Come on!
So this is the goat, and it's another kind of blend. So the witches will take people and combine them, or through ritual and dark magic, combine them and create these new beings. Yeah. And this is one of the more successful projects that they've embarked on. So he's an absolute tank. He's just the beat stick of the faction. And
how was he created then?
He was created through blending. A lot of the time it'll either be human forms, people that have got crushed legs, and they cut it, you know, they use magic to take away those legs and form them with another creature to keep them alive.
Splicing.
And that's why we call them blends. So they're a blend of human and magic and monster. But this particular one is a summoning ritual. He was summoned on an altar with blood magic. A child was sacrificed. And within his form, you'll see the silhouette of the male child that was formed.
When you make this a model, yeah?
Yes, within his back.
How are you going to do that? Oh, so in the back you'll
see a silhouette of the back of a child in the form, almost puppeteering the monster that is the goat, running through the woods. The absolute terror for anybody that damages anybody within that faction.
This is crazy, because I thought the hidden ones were going to be the scary faction in all of this. But in their own way, they're all scary. But these guys here, the Wildborn, are just... Ugh. Right, there is a faction then that you're currently working through, okay? So these are all fairly well concepted up at this stage.
Yes.
But the next faction's called the Travelers. Now, this is early day stuff, so we're very fortunate you're actually going to let us kind of see how you guys kind of progress through the production of a faction. So what can you show us on the Travelers?
Well, we should be able to show you pretty much the whole faction and a potential extra model.
Yeah.
Here we have Max, who's the leader.
Yeah.
This is going to be almost a Romany traveller from our perspective. But we want to give the clove and the form the ability to use anything from all the different forms of travellers that have been around the world over the years.
Yeah.
Within that, that'll be up to your colour schemes, so which we'll show as we move through. But these guys, you know, they're all about curses. They're all about nature, but the opposite of the Wildborn. They're almost the nemesis in that they move around these places. You know, they want to remove evil. They want to remove the bad. But a lot of the stuff they use needs the horn of a goat. So they also need to farm these things from the creatures that are the nasties of the world to keep themselves young or protected, or, you know, whatever they need for their magic castings to give them good fortune or bring in gold.
There's a beautiful sense of style about this faction, you know. I'm getting that vibe of 100 Years of Solitude type thing, you know, and it's where they come riding in, and, you know, it's just
That's it. We want to give this, a lot of the schemes you've seen up to yet, the colours will be picked, and we through almost blandness. But this faction, we wanted to give you that vibrancy, that option, if you're that type of gamer, or you want those storylines with those flowing silks, those bright colours, the circus, you know, just the beautifulness of what you can achieve with a good colour scheme. And this faction is for those people that want to go down that route, as well as having, you know, these individual elements that are all one family. These are the Calderas family.
I need a 28mm caravan. I need one of them beautifully ornate traveler's caravans that could just be sitting there. It only has to sit there, and it just looks beautiful. And then just swiping out of it with little swords and war hammers and right, okay, keep going. I am utterly sold already.
But within every faction, we have the familiar.
Yeah.
The conduit of magic.
Yeah, you had to go there. It had to start getting horrible, didn't it? So who is this character? What are we seeing here?
This is Paley, and he's what you'd call almost a gremlin form, the evil form of a curse. So super active, super hyper, aggressive. This is what this creature is.
He has a very Strigoi kind of look about him, it's because I know in Romania the vampires are Strigoi, and they're not all suited up and bow-tied. They are kind of zombie-like kind of creatures.
That's
like
exactly
this.
it, yeah. Almost gargoyle as well, where the emaciated waist, the large rib cage. And we're still, obviously this is still the concept stage for this faction, but you're seeing the type of breadth that we try and cover in form and language in what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is based on the stories. We want the stories to be the background, the backbone of the whole thing, and have the models reflect the story.
Yeah.
And this one is the mischievous, the nasty, the thing that you think, oh, that's so cute, and then bites your finger off.
Have you a big one for this faction as well? Yeah.
We have one.
Yeah. What is that?
So here are a number of the concepts that we're working through.
Go with number one. Go with number one. He's like Frankenstein. It looks like he's been sewn together.
That's exactly it. He's a curse. All the people that have challenged them over the years, they cursed and kept their bodies alive, took the parts that they wanted to make this grotesque form.
Yeah.
And it's the protector. So that caravan that seems to be very low on its springs, somewhere hidden amongst it is this, hidden by magic on the roof.
Yep.
Bundling along, and when it's needed, those springs raise as this drops off and goes into combat.
I can just totally see this. Just open the back of the caravan and let him out. It's just nuts.
There's so many forms that we're playing with, from humanoid to more grotesque.
Yeah.
It's definitely a work in progress. But
I love the low profile that you're going for here. It's just so scary. It is really, really good. Okay, what else have we got?
We've got a couple of other work in progress. One of which is coming up now. So this one has been built to fit within the faction, and it's also an option for the large creature.
Yeah.
As you see in the item 3, its scale is that it's much larger.
Oh.
It's a curse. It's a tarot curse.
Yeah.
So the tarot card of death has been drawn by the gypsy matriarch, and within that has now summoned. She's put the magic in. The curse is raised from the card. This has come forth, channeled with that purple feel of magic of the Romany sect, and it's come forward from it with the scythe, with the intimidation that death brings to harvest a soul.
Oh, it is just beautiful. And is this the same character, a different take on the same character?
We were thinking about, at some point, maybe moving between images from sane to insane and the different types of character as you flip.
Yeah.
So this shows some of our thoughts on that side of it, where when it's not reaping your soul, it's entrapped by the gypsies themselves, by the travellers. They capture it and they put it back into its lock until it's ready for release again, when it can harvest another soul.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And then there's other concept art or concept pieces that you have, yeah? Or is that all of them now?
That's where we're up to at the minute.
Yeah.
That is the last one of it.
Right. I want to talk a bit about the game. Okay. I got an opportunity to play a play test of the game, and we had a blast. Okay. Some things you've got to know about this game, and you will get your chance to try it yourself, believe me. But it's as killy as hell. It really is. When they showed me the stat cards and I saw the number of wounds, hang on a second, that's got like 24 wounds. They said, yeah, you're gonna need them.
I needed them. You took them.
So when you look at it, it is killy. You're going to be dishing out loads and loads of damage. The scenario I played was Portal Jockey. probably one of the best game scenarios I have ever played. We had the 5 portals, or 6 portals.
Yeah.
That we were basically trying to take control of the portals, and you're able to jump from one portal to the next. And the game just worked so well. And the 2 factions that we played, the Priory, who you played, and then of course I played the hidden ones because I love me giant enemy crab. They just worked so well, and the synergies between the models just really came out. And I really enjoyed the familiars and how they were able to kind of control the familiars. One of the things that really came across, though, is it is very much a thinking man's game, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't, and this is why I can't wait to play it again. In particular, this scenario of the portal jockey, because you find yourself, because it made a real difference the order in which you activated things. And because some characters obviously have strengths, whereas others have weaknesses.
Yep. And
the whole thing about trying to take control of portals to win the victory points at the end of your turn made you start to do, take some really interesting chances. Where at one point I had my leader, the Dockland Queen, jumping from one portal to the other, taking control, and then jumping out quickly just as the last turn to try and secure
that extra point,
that portal. Whereas other times I had the crab, and he was just going in and doing brutal damage. And then there's also the Molly. Molly has this wonderful mechanic that Molly can jump from one portal to the next, and at the end of her turn, if she's in base contact, she automatically deals 3 damage.
That's right.
So there's these great things, but for me, one of the most awesome things in this game is you call it live combat.
It is,
yeah?
yes.
Now, they said to me, this game has live combat. And I went, what the hell is live combat? Oh boy. Right. So basically, every time a combat happens, right, it is straight up beating the crap out of each other. You're not sitting there taking it and them taking wounds off you. You can win the combat, in which case, if he's come into combat with me, there's every likelihood he walks off with a bloody nose.
Yeah.
Or worse. So you really are kind of, 2 things happen. One, you start to think about, do I really want to go into combat? And 2, you start going, I really want to get into combat. You never fear the combat. It just enriches and enlivens the game, because every combat feels like an opportunity. I never get that sense. I sometimes get this sense in games of 40k where, oh no, I'm going to get decimated here because I can't do an awful lot back or something like that. In this game, you're going, bring it on, come on, try it if you think you're hard enough, and it's just so good. And the way it was balanced, at one point I had a familiar, my little angler, who really on his own you wouldn't have thought could do very much.
This guy.
But and he's only a little fella. He really is only a little fella. But I was able to put together this combo where he was able to charge in, and he got an extra dice, and you'll learn more about the dice mechanics from the game, but he got an extra dice. And on a great roll of 2 6s and a 4, he just cut the other guy in half, and it was like, wow.
And unfortunately for me, it was my leader at the time.
It was your leader at the time. Yeah. I had softened the leader up by this stage with a giant enemy crab. What was your whole approach to designing the mechanics of the game? It's I've got to say, I love them. I love the ferocity of the game, and I feel like, once the game was over, I more options started to come to me, and I started to think of, I could have done this, and I could have done that. But what was it you were setting out to try and capture when you designed the mechanics?
So a lot of it was you're always interacting with your opponent, like you say. So you enter combat, but there's a chance you're going to get punched back. So it's always that feeling that there's a chance of success.
Within it, I mean,
yeah.
within it, you've got that mechanism. It is exactly what it says. It's a live combat. You are never out of that fight. If I disengage, I normally would take a free hit or something like that. Within our game, it's not that. It is, I disengage, but I might still score a wound on you if you muck up that roll.
Yeah.
When you charge in, you get the extra dice. That's a massive bonus, up to D6. So you can get that overreaching, powerful attack.
Yeah.
And that charge is giving you that. But to get that, you've put yourself in that situation. You've got your distance right. You've thought it through. You've got a bonus. You've gone in. You've done that huge damage. Or you roll a double 1 and he rolls a double 6. And even after all that, you still took damage back.
Another lovely aspect to the game is that insanity does play. You know, you have that tribute to the whole sanity thing of the Cthulhu, and you have obviously got your life track that you're working through, but there's also a sanity track where gradually your insanity or your sanity ebbs away, and then you can trigger this flip of the cards. So every character almost has two profiles. They have their starting profile and then their flipped profile. Now, for some characters, that can be a great thing in some circumstances because it changes the dynamic of how they play. But can you tell me a bit more about how the whole sanity thing is built into the game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sanity itself had to be there, as you've said. H.P. Lovecraft, Mythos, it was a no-brainer, it's there. And within it, we tried to make it so you keep it interesting, but allow you to play characters in a different way. And within that itself, we put in the tracker. Now, upon the tracker, you'll reach a certain sanity level where you may trigger a flip. There are other things that can do it, but that's one of the main ones.
Yeah.
When you do, you go to this opposite side, and it might be detrimental, but it might change your profile from being a combat heavy guy to ranged, because you've started to lose your mind. So you're no longer quite willing to run in and get the bonuses that you did. You want to stand back and throw that harpoon, fire that gun, take those chances at range. And within that itself, we also have a sanity table. Now, you can only test your mind for so long before it'll snap.
Yeah.
And when you reach the certain sanity image within the card profile, you will then begin to roll on that sanity table. You will roll as soon as you hit it, and then you'll roll at the beginning of every turn after it.
Yeah.
Now, what you've already taken sanity-wise in a loss will amend your roll. So the more you lose, the more likely you're going to hit that terrible roll and have a moment of complete loss where you either kill yourself or go screaming off the board.
Yeah. So you have that whole building up, the tension grows. The longer the game goes on, the worse it's going to be for you because, you know, the whole minds are all starting to crumble and there's so many layers, and I've only had my opportunity to play one game, and already, you know, I'm starting to see the potential layers building up in this game. Right, guys, look, thank you so much. It's going to Kickstarter. It's imminently going to Kickstarter. So please stay tuned to the website. We'll be bringing up the dates and stuff. We'll be keeping you guys posted. You guys are also going to be at Salute.
We are, yes.
Yep. So if you fancy meeting the guys and having a chat with them and looking at some of the stuff up close, I'm going to show you some miniatures here in a wee second. Be sure to go to Salute to check that out. Now, we've seen the concept art. We've talked about the rules. People will want to see the minis. Now, I showed off the goddess, but we have, if you bring up the concept art for Abigail. So this is Abigail. And right here, I have Abigail's model. So this is Abigail right there. Wielding a pickaxe.
With a vengeance. There's only a couple of ways to wield a pickaxe, and I think that's the right one.
Yes, I think that's the correct way to do damage with a pickaxe.
It's horizontally and it's sharp end. So yeah.
So this is Abigail. A great miniature. Really, really did capture the concept art really nicely. Next up, I have the Golem, Maharal. Just look at him. He's just a cracking looking miniature. You know what? It just captured the concept art once again, just so beautifully. So there's Maharal. Now we also have some 3D prints of concepts.
We do, yes. These first two here are the models you've already seen, so we could show what they look like when they come out as 3D prints. The Rio 3 boxes contain 2 models that are scaled up so we can see how they're coming through.
Okay.
And the final one is what's going to be a Kickstarter
So
model.
this is Maharal, a part of Maharal as a 3D print.
So you can already see the plugs. We tried
Yeah.
to keep it really clean so you get those good connection points. And make it as easy as you can on the hobbyist.
Yeah.
Because we're all hobbyists, we're all gamers. You know, we have been for decades, some of us. So we know what we like,
Yeah.
and we hope that that's the same as what you like. And we're trying to make a game and the models that you will enjoy playing with, but you don't have to spend 2 million hours prepping.
Well, let me show you this one, right? So, what is this?
So within our game, we're also looking at doing some scenario box sets.
Yeah.
Stuff with a number of characters that can be played either faction against faction or within our narrative campaign. This is a 50% scaled up, so this is pretty much almost twice the size of what it will be.
Yeah.
But this is one of the minions of a creature called the Custo Crypta, which means guardian of the crypt in Latin.
Yeah.
These were creatures that were put into the Aztec temples and the Egyptian temples to protect the pharaoh's tombs. They're an asexual predator, which is, there are a few within the animal kingdom already. There's wasps, hammerhead sharks, and a couple of sea creatures, strangely enough, one of which is a crayfish. And we couldn't help but lay that across into our type of hobby.
Wow. There it is, yeah.
These are particularly nasty, but this is a young one. This is just a baby. And these guys, they're produced in a mass number off a single Custo Crypta within the tomb, and then they eat each other because it dies in the birth of the other monsters. And it's the last survivor, survives a few months before it then lays its eggs, and the cycle continues.
So what does it grow into if it survives?
Well, that'll be this box.
Okay.
So if it survives, and there's always going to be 1 or 2 kicking around within
Oh, look at this.
eating each other. And this is going to be one of the, again, it's a 50% scaled up version.
Yeah.
But he's going to be the size of the monsters.
So these are the wing parts.
Yep, they slot
here,
into the
so
rear.
Let me just show you that.
So this guy, when you think, if he's released upon the world outside of those enclosed tombs where the only other thing to eat was another one, here it is coming out of a shadowed gateway, dropping from the ceiling upon an unsuspecting prey. All you get is that whiteness of its face as it drops through.
Now, the other thing is there another? Oh, so this is what it looks like.
So this is it, all blades, legs, spiny bits, and insect.
That's horrendous. Talking of the blade, the legs and spiny bits, they're all in here. So these are the kinds of the legs that kind of plug in like that. So you've got to start to get a sense of
How he's going to look.
And is he 50% bigger than what he would be?
He will be, yeah. His mass in that is quite large. There's a few projects within that one that we're still adjusting, still making right, which is why we've brought it in as this process.
Yeah.
So there will be some adjustments. We want to narrow some things and widen others and make him more stable. Again, coming back to making a model that you don't have to put a metal plate under to be able to keep it down.
Yeah. Guys, look, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. It's a fabulous project. I am utterly blown away by the storyline of this, and I just cannot wait to see where you take this over the next year or two. It's been great. Look, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to tell you about some hubs, and then we'll be right back over to the boys.
Keep your blaster handy. The West is a dangerous place. Fight to survive as men turn to monsters and the dead rise on the Wild West Exodus Hub at beastsofwar.com. Fight for the Iron Kingdoms as a warcaster. Take control of the mighty jacks, arcane devices, and dark sorceries to bring the fight to the War Machine Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Fascinating stuff there from Gareth and Dom. Warren, what did you think of that?
Good morning! I'm here with my cup of green tea. Okay.
You've been missing.
Yes,
I don't know what.
I've been missing. I've been very busy. Been very busy doing a lot of the dev work. We've been working along with Nakchak from the site. I've got to do a massive shout out to Nakchak. He's been fabulous. Fabulous. So we're working on a project called BOW Next.
Ooh.
Basically, it was a site upgrade, but you know, to make us all feel kind of cool and all next gen, we called it BOW Next. And when you say it, Justin, you have to say it, and then
I'm not doing that.
and then bite your lip provocatively.
No.
Cut to me. Cut to me. Star Wars. Poe Dameron style. BOW Next. Anyway, so we're working on that, but I had such a blast with the guys from Mythos. All right, it was. I just wanted to refocus on one element of it. A little bit of time has passed since the recording of that interview, and for me, the key to Mythos and why I'm really looking forward to it, right, is yes, there is that whole Lovecraftian Cthulhu thing, right, but something occurred to me through talking with those guys and getting to know their game. You know, I'm all about gaming in the gaps, right? And I find it that if developers too tightly scope the background and the story of their game, sometimes I find it a little bit hard to get into. These guys have been totally taking that on board. But I discovered something else about gaming in the gaps that I hadn't ever really noticed before, but actually is really important. If the story in the background that's already there is really, really well executed, it actually makes gaming in the gaps easier, because you have almost like frameworks. You have points of reference, not only for you to position your storyline inside theirs, but if their background writing is of a really high quality, you pick up little things like, oh, that was interesting how they did that. Oh, that was interesting how they tied that back to a real life episode and stuff like that. And it makes it easier for you, because you have somebody leading by example of some really well executed background.
So is it giving you keystones into the world that you can say, okay, I'll put that in, that in, that in,
Yeah,
and
in
now
so
it
many
feels
ways.
more like it?
It also inspires you. I've been so inspired by Mythos, in so much as I think me and you could have a lot of fun with this Mythos.
I do like my Cthulhu.
Well, imagine you like your Cthulhu, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you like your Scalia guys from Volsung, yeah? The little
Scala.
kind of Scala, the little kind of mafioso guys, right?
Halfling mafia.
And
Always
I'm
a good
like
time.
in the time period, that 1920s.
Yeah. This is Nero Wolf territory for me.
Hang on, I know exactly what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to do Nero Wolf Cthulhu, yeah?
That's exactly what I'm intending to do. Okay.
Okay, so
at some point, I'm fully intending to try and get that kind of Nero Wolf. So I have a private eye investigator, Nero Wolf style, but I have Archie Goodwin, I have Fritz the Butler,
Right.
I have all of that. But I'm hoping that you'll do a whole mafia kind of thing going on there as well. There's
I'm
just
gonna make
so
him
much
enough that he can't
opportunity.
refuse.
And you know, the great thing about the guys behind Mythos is they get this. They get that they're creating a world. They're creating their own miniatures. Obviously, they want to sell miniatures and stuff like that. But they understand we are hobbyists and we want to involve ourselves in it. So you know, if they start creating private eye miniatures and things like that, I'm so on there. Just make sure you got a big dude like me. You know, so for Nero Wolf.
If I can get, an Al Capone who's looking mildly insane, I go for that.
It's great.
On the miniatures front, it's probably a good time to remind people what the prize is this week.
We're actually giving away 5 of the Sea Queen miniature to give away from the guys at Paranoid Miniatures. It's a really, really nice little sculpt. This one in particular, Dawn went nuts for last year at Salute, if I remember correctly, didn't she?
She did. It's a lovely, lovely game. And can I just talk from a gameplay perspective?
Absolutely.
I really, really did buy into the whole dealing out loads and loads of damage everywhere. In fact, it had a little bit of a Guild Ball kind of a vibe to it. I'm not suggesting that it shares mechanics or whatever with Guild Ball, but when I played Guild Ball a year ago or 2 years ago, I really, really got a sense of the dynamism of the game. I also got that from this. So if you, there's a parallel there somewhere. Can't quite put my finger on it, but if you enjoy a vibrant a vibrant, killy game, this is it, and it's dead simple too.
Is there
It's
much
dead simple.
dealing with the actual insanity of the Cthulhu-esque world
Oh, yes.
in the game?
Yes.
Okay, that's an
It's all
absolute
in
key
there.
for any game like this.
It's all in there. Very much looking forward to seeing where they go.
Absolutely.
On the topic of looking forward to stuff,
Yeah. Salute, Warren. We talked about some meetups and stuff. You're going to give us some more details?
yes, okay. Right, so on the Friday night, okay, we have our Backstager meetup at the Customs House, which is just basically across the train track from Salute,
Yep.
okay?
From the Excel Center.
From the Excel Center, right? It's where anybody that's a backstager is allowed to come along to that. I say is allowed to come along to that. Anybody who's a backstager comes along to that on the Friday night. We have a few bevies. We have some fun with some games. We just talk a load of old tripe, and it's great crack. However, I want to open that up to if you're a backstager and you want to bring friends along, no problem. Just bring them along. If you're not a backstager and you're a Beast of War fan and you want to come along. But we will make you a backstager.
Okay, so hang on. The secret door in the customs house opens up and we take them down to the ritual chamber to initiate them.
Yes, we're going to do full-on initiations. Okay, you bring the goat, yeah?
Yeah, I'll bring the goat.
That's okay. We're going to do full-on backstager initiation. So if you're not a backstager, come along.
You soon will be.
You will be by
Whether
the
you want
time
it or
you
not.
leave. Yeah, you will be by the time you leave. We accept card.
Have we a time in mind for this stuff?
Yes. Beer o'clock. So as soon as the clock reaches beer o'clock, it's in time. What do we say? It's normally about 6 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
About 7
I would have
o'clock.
said 7 to half 7-ish by the time we're done with our setup.
Yeah,
but
but-
7, because what happens is usually we get chucked out of Salute,
Yes.
and then we eat something,
Yes.
and then we go there.
Yes.
but the customs house does food as well, so it's not a big issue.
It's the
Same
same.
difference.
It's the same kind of thing. So 7 p.m. Customs House.
Yeah.
Okay. Then on the Saturday night, I don't actually know what's happening on the Saturday night. On the Saturday night, we're having Warren's Gamer Stag. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so we're having my stag night.
The fact that you don't know what's happening scares
The
me.
plan
because-
is there is no
because
plan.
I don't know what's happening. The only guy who has any idea what's happening is here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you see, I'm lazy, so the plan is there is no plan. We're meeting up at the customs house to start.
yeah, you've made a solemn promise to Andrea.
I have now. Andrea gave me one rule. It's
Yeah.
not a solemn promise. It's a rule she gave me, and I will stick to it.
So it's more of a guideline.
No. This is cast iron. I will be castrated, otherwise rule.
Right.
Okay.
And she means that. So
Yes, I know. That's why I'm sticking to
She
it.
has a little collection of previous.
Yes, I know. The only rule is I'm not allowed to have him get a tattoo on his face or anything permanent like that. So no ripping teeth out of his head. You know. Other than that, it's all go.
Right. Yeah, that's not much
more of a guideline,
is it really?
Hang on. She just says she wants him to look pretty on the wedding day. Anything else goes.
Well, she's got no hope. She's got no hope. I'm not a pretty guy, so right.
Saturday night, that is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Saturday night, as soon as Salute is over. Now,
Aye.
we have to work on a little bit because there will be live blogs and stuff running. So say from about 7 o'clock again by the time we get everything
Yeah.
all wrapped up.
Yeah, but
alright?
there's nothing to stop everyone meeting up there beforehand and being ready.
Where are we going?
Again, we're going to start at the customs house and we'll work on from there.
Custom House, yeah.
However-
I only made one request, and that was if we could find some nearby heavy metal. I quite fancied a bit of raw metal.
We're going to be terribly disappointed because none of us flipped.
But no. Dead Dave.
Dead Dave may have found
Dave
one.
may have found
But
some metal.
we
but
we would have to pay into the place that he has found.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm having a closer look at that.
We'll see. You know, do you know what? Some custom house for some drinks.
Aye.
And for a bit of crack. I've never, it's just it's another opportunity for some beer. You know?
There is one thing.
That's
Warren.
open to everybody, isn't it?
Yeah. That's open
Yeah.
to everybody, but there is one thing.
What's that?
We had the guys at Ninja Division across, right?
Right.
And they have challenged us to play a game.
Right.
A game of their design. We have Drunk Quest.
Drunk Quest.
Yeah.
West,
Okay.
right?
Let me pop this under the close camera.
What do we know about this game?
This is a game they play every Gen Con, and it is designed to get you absolutely, utterly, stonkingly hammered.
Okay. Okay. Right.
The whole concept is it plays
The
3
whole
to 6 player concept.
The whole
We've
concept.
started early with this whole...
The whole concept.
Give me a sec, I'll make the funny word noises.
Okay.
All right,
Right.
the whole concept is
Yep.
you have 3 decks of cards in this. So
Okay.
you have your red deck, which is your monsters.
Red deck.
Red
okay.
deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have your purple deck.
The purple deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Which
put it under the
is-
camera for God's
Okay.
sake.
I know, I'm just trying to separate them.
That's
That's
blue.
blue.
Well, blue, purple, whatever.
Okay.
And then you have your green deck.
Okay.
So
Okay.
with the red
Why
deck
is the purple
is-
deck so tiny compared to the green deck?
You'll understand in a second.
Okay, right.
So the red deck is all your monsters, right?
Right?
Now, you see the level of the monster?
Yes.
That's how long you have to drink for, right?
In
So-
minutes, hours?
in a count. So
In a count.
you'll tip your glass up and everyone will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Or seconds.
Yes, well,
Yeah. or as close to. Yeah.
aye.
Okay.
But people can play in cards to actually increase or decrease that,
Oh, no.
depending on whose round it is.
Oh, no.
The
Right.
key is
okay.
your character is trying to get to level 6.
Yeah.
And some of your characters, you obviously have the thief, the
Trick shot.
trick shot, and things like that. You then have where you're from as well.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, what kingdom you're from and a special ability that you get.
Yep.
You then have the green deck,
Okay.
and that's all your item cards. So, you have this. So, +1 level to monster.
What is that? Solo.
Solo-y.
Okay. Soup.
Soup, -4.
This is so American. The plastic cup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Beer pong right there.
Yeah, and it's red as well. So.
You also have spellbooks and stuff, +10 to a monster. That's really going to screw you up.
Yeah.
Basically, I have seen pictures of the guys from Ninja Division after they have played this. It doesn't end well.
Right.
Everybody wins, but it doesn't end well. It's not a pretty sight.
So we're gonna have to figure out how this works. So we're gonna do this on the boat over. Are we gonna figure this out?
We'll take a practice run on the boat over. 'Cause-
No, I can't do 3 nights.
Hang on.
Okay.
We have Lance coming with us this time
Yeah.
to share the burden
Right,
of driving.
so,
But
anyway,
the
yeah.
gauntlet has been laid down by
Ben.
Ninja Division to play this.
Ben,
Yes.
you can't see this, but it kind of looks scary actually. This
Yeah,
game.
it
I'm not
does.
sure about this
It
game.
does.
It looks kind of like you will be drunk whether you want to be or not.
Well,
Right.
I am laying down one ground rule for this game.
And what's
If
that?
you're going to play, it's a 3-drink minimum.
I don't know what that means.
Pick your poison. You have to have 3 glasses of that sitting in front of you.
All right.
As soon as you're
okay.
through those 3, you have to go up and get your next.
Right.
dear.
Okay.
Okay, right. We're gonna move us on because
Okay.
we have
Yes,
another.
please let me go.
We have another interview coming up between John Paul Brizzigotti,
Yes.
Warren,
Right.
and Ben about something really cool.
Yes, this is Star Trek Ascendancy. Myself and Ben sat down with JP to get some background on the game. I'm really excited about it. Red Ben has already played it up at Adepticon, so if you're a backstager, go onto the site because he's posted some pictures and stuff like that in the green room. The green room, yeah. I'm totally getting my Star Trek on. Look at this. Cut down close count. Look at this. I'm totally getting my Star Trek on. I even have a little Star Trek interface on my watch. So yeah, so I've been totally Star Trekking and geeking out this
And
last
suddenly
while.
Warren goes back to watch all the movies.
Yeah, it's a great interview, and you'll learn tons. It's great. So right, we'll let you see it, and I'm away. I'll see you guys at Salute. You've told them no weekenders next week.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and possibly no weekenders for the foreseeable future, potentially. All right, so yeah, bye.
Flames of War brings you the battles of World War II in epic 15mm scale. Go to the hub on beastsofwar.com to find news, tactics, and tutorials about the game. Anime cyberpunk style meets skirmish combat in Infinity. Experience 8 high-tech factions and fight to control the human sphere at the Infinity Hub on beastsofwar.com.
So, next year, 50th anniversary of Star Trek. These guys have the worldwide rights, and you have a game coming. Funny enough.
We do indeed.
Okay, tell us about this epic Star Trek game you've got on the way.
Star Trek's had, 50 years of games and computer games and all kinds of things, but what it's never had is that race-spanning expansion. It's the whole galaxy that you're going into, and that's what we're making. You're going to be playing the Romulans, the Klingons, the Federation, the Ferengi, the Andorians, the Cardassians, taking your empire from its starting planet.
So many.
And heading off into space to encounter new worlds, dominate, trade, be diplomatic, depending on your character, to see which one of you can raise above it all and claim ascendance.
So, from looking at it, the impression I get is that we each play a race, okay? We have our kind of starting planet, and then we're exploring And then at some point, we're going to start crossing paths.
Yes.
And that's when things like diplomacy and war potentially come into play. Is there a limit to the number of players that could potentially get involved in this? And is there a limit to the potential size of the game? Because it strikes me that you could do this on a big scale.
No, you absolutely could. In fact, that's part of each of the nations has been set as a set of pieces. So 10 planets, some connecting space lanes. You'll start off with ships and fleet management ships and your main card, plus a events deck and a tech deck specific to your race. But if effectively you can play 6, 7, as many races as you have, you can play, and the bigger the surface you play on, because it is that until you bump into each other, you and I, we could have a isolationist game. You're at one end of an 8-foot table, I'm at the other. We're going to take our time before we bump into each other, or we could play on this table and have a fight straight away.
I don't think I've ever seen a board game that does that style of.
I can't think of one that does
like
that.
there are lots of expansionist games like that, but none where the table layout actually dictates how far you.
It's one of the key pieces of the puzzle when Sean Swaggart and Aaron, the principal designers at Gale Force 9, when you're thinking about new games and new ideas, you want to try and bolt a game idea to a mechanic and to a piece of IP that fits. And this fluid space where planets go down, distances between planets, you're playing in 3D. And then there's the 4D element of trying to, well, when we encounter each other, what happens? Well, you've opened up space lanes, you've opened up diplomacy, you've bumped into the Klingons. And the Klingons are, hey, we're nice and friendly, here's our fleet, we'd like that planet, please. And you're there going, well, we were thinking about being cultural.
Yeah.
And the Ferengi are there stealing things off anybody that will allow them. So yeah.
So if we did play the big game, obviously as we're exploring, we're also increasing the richness of our assets and things like that. So when we do meet, if we do decide to go to war, it could be quite sizable, yeah?
It could, but the game's about a balance between 3 things. You've got production, you've got culture, and you've got tech. So when you find new planets, depending on the planet or the location, it allows you to expand and explore the planet with those things. Those 3 currencies in the game then allow you to expand your tech tree and have better warp, have cloaking device, have better photon torpedoes, but they also allow you to build libraries and opera houses and cultural stuff. So the game's not about force or culture or trading, it's a combination of the 3.
Yeah.
So it's not that the Klingons have to play aggressive and shoot everything. Yeah. They are better at it. But because the planets are random as you encounter them, if they keep coming across, oh, it's another cultural planet, oh, it's another cultural planet, they need planets with red for production and build ships and build fleets if they want to go that route. And other races like the Ferengi are just trying to take advantage of everybody, and you're trying to be nice to them, but also shoo them away like an irritating, like a Ferengi.
So what's the victory condition at the end of it then? What?
It's a tracker for culture. You are trying to reach a level of cultural ascendancy, and your cultural tracker is raised by developing planets or building space stations. So you in your set, a race will include 40 ships, little ships will fly around, and 3 space stations. And so a combination of planets and markers on planets to represent culture, and the space station will show your tracking. But cultural ascendancy is not about just building opera houses, it's about whatever it suits. So the Klingons,
planet,
the Klingons get some bonuses with, did you make another attack fleet? The Romulans, did you move your tech tree? The Ferengi, have you got multiple trade relations with multiple races? And so some races are absolutely about the quicker you meet other people, the better. Some will need a bit of time to build, but because you've all got that random bit of, well, I don't know what the first planet, what did the Federation bump into? Oh, it's a black hole. It's a great planet where everybody's friendly. It's a planet full of psychopathic cannibals, but because the universe is there, as the game progresses, a turn is represented by a decade of time. It really is a culture growing. So you're not trying to measure things in, oh, it's a week, it's 2 weeks. It's we found a planet, and in this turn, we've developed it. We've built some things. I've built a fleet. I've sent a science fleet off to explore. I've sent a war fleet off to kick someone else's planet in the arse. But yeah.
So in terms then of the components, because you'd mentioned the 40 ships, that's 40 ships per race,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of assets. So you have like 40 ships. You have also fleet tokens to represent groups of ships.
Fleet cards and fleet tokens. So anything over 2 ships, 3 ships or more, is represented by a fleet. And fleet cards vary in the task you set them. So they could be a science fleet that has 6 ships on it that evolves a planet faster or builds cultural things, or you could have war fleets. The Klingons can have a 10-ship fleet, which is basically flying around looking for a fight. It's a bunch of Irish on a Saturday night looking for a fight. So your fleets, your fleet management, you have your main card, which has got a wonderful little.
When I saw those,
making the noises. Yeah, no. The counter, the whole thing about having counters or actually having little. That was a very great idea. Plus your ships, but then each race, the equivalent, comes with a whole bunch of traveling lanes and 10 planets. So as you add players, you're adding more planets, more variety, but there's no limit to how big the game can be. It's literally how long do you want to play, how far apart. So
it's the scalability of this game is just blowing my mind, because I'm looking forward to playing small games of it, often. But I can't help but think if you could get your gaming group together on a big table and you're all starting out and then gradually you start bumping into one another and doing the trades and the diplomacy and stuff like that, it's going to be fascinating.
It makes me think about how good this would be at conventions. This would be an amazing game.
One of the hardest things about picking properties that we really have a passion for is, of course, you're already carried away before you start. And whether it's Star Trek or Doctor, I mean, we haven't picked anything we didn't really like. And it's great. And at the same time, you go, so we've got 18 ideas and we're trying to fit them all in one game. The part of this of treating a race as a playable piece means that the starting game that will have 3, Klingons, Romulans, and the Federation in it, allows us then to add races as we go, but also let people have an experience of just the races, and then we'll add the Borg as an enemy for everybody to deal with, or the Dominion as a part of the storyline that's changed, as opposed to, I'm not going to play the Dominion as a player or the Borg because they don't quite fit, but playing Andorians, playing Ferengi, and being able to have all of that scope means that, I mean, it really is limitless.
And again, I tend to ask this in the interviews, but clearly you have a roadmap for this game of where it's going to go next. There is ongoing support because it's become built in to board games now. Good board games don't just start and finish with the one game. There's the ongoing support to keep us engaged, to keep adding more and more layers of fun and change things up.
Properties, particularly the big hobby properties, and there's a distinction now in the market between, I think, board games of the old school. When you say to someone who's not a gamer and you say board game, they think Monopoly, they think Game of Life, and hobby board games, which a hobby board game's got involvement, it's got interaction, and you play it like a miniature game. You invest in it. It's not just, I play it when it's a rainy day. And with properties like Star Trek, you've just got so much to explore. It's crazy to say, I'm going to limit myself to everything in one box when, one box, why? And with all the ships and all the things that we wanted to get in, you just keep making a list and you go, oh, okay, there's the first 3 years of product and we didn't have to think about anything else. And the beauty is that when you're working with people like CBS who are passionate about their property, they're so excited about the 50th anniversary. They've got so much going on next year to celebrate the party. The whole thing of, will your game come out at party time, which is 15th of July, when the new movie launches, will your game be ready? Is they asked us that almost 2 years ago. And so we've had time to plan and be ready for, this is a big one and it's going to take time. But yeah, we're progressing. We're almost there. The guys they've got a couple more months to polish it off, but it's looking good. And you've seen already the pieces of the puzzle that are exciting, including those little buns. That's just the coolest thing.
Now, one of the things I want to talk about some of the tactical elements. Some of the kind of what's the experience like playing this game. But one of the things that I quite enjoy, and it's quite a simple thing, is you've got to be wary even in terms of the speed that you travel through these space lanes, because you might have a ship that's capable of a lot of warp, but if you're not careful of how you travel through a space lane, you could just end up slap bang into a black hole.
Yes.
So that you have to be all the time considerate of what might happen.
Travel will take two different feels. At the beginning, when you're exploring for the first time, you absolutely have to be conscious of, you don't want to flick over somewhere that's a hazard, or because you haven't got enough ships. You'll start the game with 3 ships and tech level 1 and progress. I've got fleets of Klingons. That's not how their races start. You start slow. They didn't work out. They wanted to dominate everybody day 1. And because you're talking in decades, it takes time to build fleets, build ships, explore. So cautious movement at the beginning, but once you've got a board that's connected and you've got 8 or 10 planets down, I'm traveling at warp. The further up warp, the more space lanes you're skipping. So I'm at warp 5, I'm at warp 6. That's a ship moving across 6 planets, down 6 lanes, and appearing over there where I just needed the extra help. So a fleet of ships traveling around, but it goes into warp and it basically sits off the table.
Yeah.
So they're in warp and you're just keeping a track on your board. Oh, it's at warp 4, so okay, and when it comes back into warp next turn, I can have traveled 4 in any place, and so, which is how space travel was. You don't know the Klingons; they're not hiding behind this black curtain. They go, "Hello."
Yeah.
They arrive, and you go, oh dear.
Ray Shields. Ray Shields.
It's where because you've got that tech of. As a Federation player, are you trying to go for faster ships and more science and more evil, or are you planning to defend yourself when either the Klingons or the Romulans come a-calling, because cloaking technology that allows you to bypass other fleets, capturing planets, which, if there's nobody there to defend it, is as simple as turning up and saying, "You're mine now," and then sending fleets back. So that whole balance of, are you going to play in the aggressive style? Are you going to expand and slowly? But diplomacy is the other thing that has been factored into the game as part of trading. So rather than having a separate diplomacy phase where we're pretending to be nice and then not going to be, which is how a lot of diplomacy in games works. You just take my word for it, and then later I'm going to stab you in the back. It's all about your trading partners. And so you have a set of different trade agreements. And if you want to be friends with people, you share trade agreements which have a benefit to both of you. The minute the two of you antagonize each other, you pull the trade agreement so that everything has a cost. So the diplomacy is managed by, well, who are you friends with and who are you not?
Yeah.
And, I'm more friends with Ben now, so I'm going to give him my better trade deal, and you get the crate of maggots a month instead of.
I'm so glad that the diplomacy has a mechanical aspect to it, because I think it makes it a lot more clearly defined. There's a lot less sort of rubbing up against each other in a game and going, well, why didn't you support me, kind of thing. If it's actually mechanically there, it feels right for Star Trek as well, actually.
Yeah, it has a real narrative fit to the whole Star Trek background. So.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the world is so deep and has got so many different storylines, and now with the new movies resetting the storyline, you're not short of excuses to explore things, but from a game perspective, you want to be feeling. The Federation wants to feel like the Federation. You don't want to be running around pretending you're a Klingon, and the Klingons got to have. But you don't need to behave aggressively to win the game. And I think that's that balancing of getting the IP and game mechanics blended well to each other, so that it feels like it's Star Trek. And Klingons can be Klingons, but if you don't want to pick a fight with everybody, you can still win the game.
Yeah,
there's still, because that's how you get the Ferengi, and that's how you get the Cardassians and the Andorians in, is that you've got to have a lot of that variety, a lot of that racial choice.
Well, guys, I'm just absolutely blown away by this one. It's just the scale of it is mind blowing. I cannot wait to see it. Look, John Paul, thank you very much for coming and telling us about it. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Ben.
All that's left to say is, kapla!
Humanity has been driven from Earth, but now it's time to take it back. Join the Reconquest and fight the Scourge on the Drop Zone Commander Hub at beastsofwar.com. In a world controlled by massive corporations, a steady aim and split-second decisions are needed for your megacon to complete its goals. Begin your missions at the Mercs Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Cool stuff, awesome. I'm really enjoying getting all these people in for interviews and stuff at the minute.
Yeah.
Ben, it looked like you were getting into that. You liking the look of this?
Yeah, I really like my 4X games, and this basically fulfills that. It's got some really interesting mechanics going on there with the way that the space lanes work, where you've got to sort of work out exactly how far away things are, otherwise you get stuck in space, and almost the way that the real estate is almost fluid on the tabletop. So the places where planets are dictate the distances and stuff.
Cool.
And also, there's some really interesting things in the way that, like, how the factions come to life. Like, the Klingons are a war faction. We talk about this a bit. But you could try and play them differently. I don't know who's going to do that, but someone might do. But yeah. So.
Hold up. I'm a Trekkie. You do not play Klingons in any diplomatic fashion. No.
This is where the board
Ben,
game
no. Klingons, war.
Is it
all war, all the time?
Is it based around the time period then when the Klingon homeworld has died?
Well, maybe. Yeah.
I'm right in thinking the Klingon homeworld died
The Klingon homeworld
in like Star Trek 5 or something.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you're perhaps thinking, all right, which captain of the Enterprise are you thinking?
Kirk.
Okay. I think it might be after that.
It was the Unbound. Oh, it was the Unbound Country. What the heck was that movie called?
The Undiscovered Country.
That's the one.
Finally, a movie from his era. I get. Go figure.
What's happening? My brain's turned to mush.
I'm just slowly sucking the life out of them all.
We should all grab batleths and start fighting each other with the Star Wars music in the background, and that'll solve everything.
Right, stop. Enough before this just turns into madness. Let's move on. Let's move on.
All right.
I want to talk about Rail Raiders Infinite, a cool new Kickstarter that went up and is like over $70,000 pledged to it in like less than 24 hours.
Well, no, it was slightly over 24 hours. It's got that.
No.
Is it under?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even 24 hours. It got over $70,000 pledged to it. Have a look at this and see what you think.
Making a living is hard work in this galaxy, but the space rails are full of opportunity for a steady hand and a blaster. Mount up for adventure with Rail Raiders Infinite. Grab up your blaster and compete against your other raiders for loot before time runs out. Watch out, Lawbots patrol these shipments, and they are heavily armed. Make the best shooter's hand you can and blast your way to glory. Rail Raiders Infinite features amazing game pieces to represent your bandits and law dogs. Full-color game components include tokens, cards, dice, and train tiles. Help us bring this fast and furious Space Cowboy board game to reality. Hold on to your hats, and thank you for supporting Rail Raiders Infinite.
Cowboys done gone to space. That's awesome. Chibi space.
Yeah.
Space, yeah.
Ben, how do you describe this game?
Well, it's a semi-cooperative, but not quite cooperative board game where you control space cowboys raiding a train. And the whole idea is you're trying to make as much double dollar as you can before the train gets to the station. So you're jumping on board with your chibi space cowboys, shooting space robots that are dressed up as cowboys, and shooting other raiders on the train as well, and then trying to fight your way to the loot, getting off the train, and making it out alive. So,
Dibs
fantastic.
on Cactus Zach.
Yes.
He looks really cool.
Yeah.
This is from Ninja Division and Pseudopop Miniatures.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Very successful, funded already.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're following on from 2 other successful Kickstarters, so 3 is a charm here.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, we've seen them do the chibi style game before. It plays really well. People love the design of it, and the actual rules mechanics that they've put into some of those previous games give this a good pedigree to be a great game.
Yeah. If there's one group of people that does the chibi stuff to the point where I look at it and go, I may actually play that. It's this duo.
Well, we do have Dungeon Saga sitting. If you want, I can break out the rulebook and get a game on for you.
Dungeon Saga.
Or not
Super
Dungeon Saga.
Dungeon
I haven't had coffee today.
Now his
Be quiet.
brain's turned to mush.
Be quiet. I haven't had coffee today.
Ben, we'll go back to you.
Yes. I mean, one of the interesting things with this that I think sets it apart from the other games as well, in that it doesn't step on their toes, is that it has a very interesting poker dice mechanic that works throughout the game, where you roll the dice and then you have to set them up into poker hands, and that dictates the strength of your attacks and things like that. It sort of backs away from the more arcadey style and the very random nature of some of the other games.
Yeah.
And then sort of beating that as well, you've got the way you use your jokers and things to fix dice rolls and stuff. It feels a little bit like as if you were a cowboy, sort of cheating a little bit at the poker table.
Well, I'm actually looking at the hands of cards you can get here, and what I'm seeing is there's one of them, 5 of a kind.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to see a rule in this game saying, cheating guy, you fluffed it.
Exactly, yeah. I want someone to like bring them up on that or something. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you know what I'm liking about this? Is I'm liking the fact that it's similar in style to the likes of Super Dungeon Explorer,
Aye.
but it's a completely different setting. And I'm looking at this thinking, I think this appeals to me even more than Super Dungeon Explorer did.
You like
I'm
more
really
sci-fi,
liking this.
sci-fi cowboy flavor?
Yeah, well, it's basically Firefly chibi style, isn't it, Ben?
Or
It is pretty much, yeah.
yeah. Although you're probably one of those people that likes cowboys versus aliens, aren't you? You're one of those, aren't you?
No.
Space cowboys, yeah, that's you.
No. I much preferred. If we're going down that route of people who should be in space, who shouldn't really be in space, it's John Carter of Mars. I preferred. I know he's not really a cowboy. Well, maybe he is.
No, because he was a Confederate.
Same sort of
He
time
was a soldier,
period.
not a cowboy. Very different.
Same sort of time period.
Fine.
Ben, is this something that appeals to you then? This particular one?
I was checking this out, and I've never really been bitten by the chibi bug, as it were. Like, I like the idea of the Soda Pop Miniatures range and Super Dungeon Explorer, but this one really, really grabbed me. I mean, I think it's because of the whole almost Firefly-esque nature to it. I really enjoy that, and the sort of cutthroat backstabbing in it as well is really cool. I enjoy that kind of game. So yeah.
Do you know what just happened there, Justin?
What?
Ben fell into the cult of the new.
I know.
Done. If you missed backstage last week, we actually had a really great chat about the cult of the new. Actually, you should really go across and check it out. We have a 7-day free trial. Jump in and have a look. It's been a great discussion about it that I've seen so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm liking the look of this Kickstarter. I take it you're liking the look of this.
I always love the stuff out of Ninja Division and Soda Pop. It's just beautiful work.
Ben, you're on board with this?
Totally on board, yeah.
Cool stuff. Right, we could only fit one Kickstarter in this week because we've had so much stuff in the show. Justin mentioned the XLBS show, right?
Yep.
So if you're new to Beast of War, we do 2 shows at the weekend. We do the Weekender, and then we do the XLBS version of the Weekender. It's not. It can be described as an extra long version of Backstage.
Well, it's
Backstage, but it's not. It's like a whole new show, and it goes out on a Sunday. This goes out on a Saturday morning. The next show is going to be tomorrow morning, Sunday. Come on over to Beast of War because we have a 7-day free trial.
Yep, well, what else can you say? It's there, you can have a look at it. Sorry, my brain is just shutting down right now. Need coffee.
I just dropped you straight in it there, didn't I?
You just stopped mid-sentence and it was me going, okay, is he going to say more? Am I meant to speak now? Do I make the funny word noises right now?
Yeah, well, if you've enjoyed the show, come on over, try the 7-day free trial, watch the show, because it's going to be another jam-packed show of goodness where we talk all sorts of hobby stuff.
Yep.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
From Viking halls to the cities of the future, terrain buffs will love our foreground hub. Watch gaming tables of all genres come to life at beastsofwar.com. Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves and orcs in this game of masked fantasy combat on beastsofwar.com.